Hi, this is Mark Frangillo with a short introduction into healthcare law resources on Westlaw. Keep in mind, this is generally an area of law, as you know, that governs the relationship between a provider and receiver of healthcare services. And there are many, many different topics and subtopics that healthcare attorneys will need to be aware of. I mean, including but not limited to contracts, employment law, insurance, medical devices, pharmaceuticals, even malpractice. So, what I want to do in this short period of time is really provide you with an overview of some specific areas. Statutes and regulations are really important resources for the healthcare law practitioner. I'm going to talk a little bit about those, secondary sources, and current awareness databases, because a lot of students, when they go to work for firms or corporations, tend to do a lot of compliance work. And there's some really neat databases out there that you can use to advise clients on statutory and regulatory changes and compliance and risk, particularly within the healthcare law environment. And first tip I'm going to give you, if you are practicing in this area or any specific practice area, Westlaw has a number of different topic specific pages. So when I link to practice areas at the top, you'll see that health law is in that third column. I could set this as my starting page. I could make it a favorite so that if I made it a favorite, I could quickly get back to this particular page or any of the resources within. As you'll see, we could make any of these favorites. Favorites on Westlaw gives me an ability to get back to resources I tend to use over and over again. Now, first area I wanted to talk about quickly are your current awareness resources. And one of the things you're going to notice about certain topics, when we look at health resources here, this is going to give me an ability to get into healthcare or get into these specific content categories at the healthcare law level. But before I go into any of those resources, I do want to point out some of those current awareness databases I referenced a few minutes ago. Some of the topics, whenever you set a particular page or go to a particular topical page, will have something called practitioner insights. Practitioner insights provide analysis from various current awareness services that report on and analyze recent developments in various topical areas of law. Obviously, we have one of those areas or practitioner insight pages for health. So it really gives you the latest news and information. And if you wanted to see the underlying databases or resources that are providing this information, you could just simply click all health analysis and it would give you a list of those databases and give you an ability to dive into those for a little bit more detail if you chose to do so. Another resource that is really important for those of you who are going to be doing compliance work, on the right-hand side under Tools, you're going to see a link that says Health Policy Tracking Service. This is a wonderful resource for you. And when you drill into it, you're going to see 3 different subcategories. And let's just talk about these quickly. The first one is Health Policy Tracking Service Issue Briefs. And what that's going to do is really bring together key trends and developments on the most critical state legislative healthcare topics. This particular database comes out every quarter, but what they're going to do when we access a service like this is give us all of the different subtopics underneath. But more importantly, what they do, rather than having you dive into the quarterly reports, they're going to give us an ability to just look at the year-end report. So if I wanted to look at last year's year-end report for health insurance, I can drill into it, and it gives me an ability to really see all the various activities that happened over the past year within that particular healthcare subtopic. This is a good place for you to go to sort of advise clients on what is going on. Now, the business or the health policy tracking service issue briefs are more newsy in nature. The ones that I think you're going to tend to use more frequently throughout the year are going to be health policy tracking service snapshots. Here, what you're going to be able to get is sort of a comprehensive, big picture snapshot on state healthcare trends over a 2-week period. And this is where you could sort of see what might change. How do I advise my clients on any changes within this particular area? As I said, they come out every 2 weeks. I just drilled into healthcare providers and facilities. And when we open this particular document up, it's going to give you an overview of anything that's going on in assisted living facilities and nursing homes over the past 2 weeks across the 50 states. So any recent legislation, you'll see healthcare worker oversight, a bill that was introduced in South Dakota, nursing regulations. Alabama and Iowa are proposing to amend a couple of statutes. Any recent regulations that have come out dealing with pharmacies. So this is something that you would certainly want to use to advise clients who, maybe you are representing clients who have assisted living facilities in various states. This is a wonderful resource for you to use for that compliance type work. Now, when you're done, we're going to just back out of this, and I should have made that healthcare law topic a favorite, so I could have just come back here with one click. But once you do that, I do want to point out some of the other resources that you have access to. And as I said earlier, statutes and regs are really important for those of you who are doing a lot of work in this area. And one thing that Westlaw is going to do for you with either content category, when I drill into statutes from the Health Law tab, it actually is going to, instead of taking me to the entire US code or each state's entire legislative code, it's going to itemize out for us just the health law statutes from the US code or from a particular state. And if I had typed a search right now, instead of searching all of the US code and every state's statutory code, it's only going to search the health law statutes from those particular states. Even better, if you wanted to drill in at any one of these levels, drill into Florida's Public Health Code, Title 29, it's going to take you in at the table of contents level. So now if I type a search at the very top, it's only going to search chapters 381 to 408, i.e. the Florida Public Health Code, instead of searching all Florida statutes. And one of the other nice things about Westlaw that you're going to be able to see, we carry through the key site yellow and red flags throughout. So, if you were looking at that environmental health statute, you could see that it has a red flag. And the red flag, remember, is alerting you that your statute has been amended, repealed, or declared unconstitutional, we're going to tell you which of those three scenarios applies when you take a look at the statute. This statute has been recently amended by the Florida legislature. All right, let's back this out a little bit so I can give you a couple of other tips on the federal level. Now, on the federal level, something I want you to just be aware of when you're looking at statutes and court rules. One of the things that Westlaw is going to give you is an ability to pull up statutes by their popular name. Now, this is not embedded within the health law tab, but I just wanted you to be aware of this because sometimes there are going to be some federal statutes and state statutes for that matter. This also applies on the state level, but we tend to remember the popular names of statutes rather than their actual citations. I mean, we could each rattle off a number of different federal and state statutes by their popular names. The Brady Bill, the No Child Left Behind Act, the Family and Medical Leave Act. Within the health care arena, look, we all could name several more, right? EMTALA, HIPAA, the Affordable Care Act. So here's a little tip. If you wanted to find a statute by its popular name and you didn't know where it was codified, one of the things that Westlaw is going to give you is something called, for every single code, federal or state, once you drill into the code itself, you're going to have a popular name table. So if, for example, you wanted to find, you wanted to find the HIPAA statute, and HIPAA is short for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. It really regulates privacy rights with respect to patients' records. If you wanted to get penalties, you need to advise your client on any penalties that might exist for violating patient privacy rights for patient records. Now, you might want to look at the entire act before it got broken up and placed in the U.S. Code. So I come to the popular name table, click on the letter H. I'm going to just do a Control F for HIPAA. There it is. And we're going to give you all the different variations of that popular name. The first one is obviously the proper name. It's called HIPAA. It's also called Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. When you link to it, what you will see, Westlaw is going to provide you with some really good information. First, at the very top of the document here, it's letting us know that that law was Public Law 104-191. That was the 104th Congress, the 191st law they enacted in that session. If I click on the public law number or the statutes at large number, either of these resources chronologically publishes federal statutes enacted by Congress. We don't normally search that way, though. We search by topic. So at the very bottom of the screen, we are letting you know where each part of that law, HIPAA, eventually got broken up and placed in the U.S. Code. You'll see it's been broken up and placed to Title 29, various sections, Title 42, Title 18, Title 26. Where would penalties be? Now, certainly you could actually run a word search on Westlaw, and I know most of you would have done this, penalties for violating HIPAA. But as I said, there are going to come times when you may want to see an entire act before it got broken up and placed in the U.S. Code or state statutory code. So if I click on the public law number, we give you not only an ability to look at the entire act before it got broken up and placed in the U.S. Code, but we collect all of the legislative history materials associated with it. So if you ever needed to read House and Senate reports on HIPAA or any congressional testimony, Westlaw is going to give you an ability to do that. And this comes up a lot of times when you're, again, advising clients. You need to get legislative intent. You need to look at that history. This really does a nice job of collecting everything. Now, I told you that we needed to find situations where they talked about penalties. I'm going to just do a Control F for penalty, and you'll see it's going to tell us which sections talk about liability for penalties. Right, so that's just something you might want to be aware of when working with statutes. Let's back out to the home page, go to practice areas, health law, and now what I'd like to do is talk about regulations. Before I click on the regulations link, though, another really good current awareness resource for those of you who are doing compliance work in this area. It's going to be regulatory guidance summaries. It's on the homepage for health law. When you click on it, regulatory guidance summaries provide comprehensive summaries for current statutes and regulations relating to basically all these various topics. Right? So if we're only interested in health insurance or long-term care, we could drill in here. But those of you who are working for insurance companies, you might be interested in the regulatory guidance summaries for property and casualty statutes and regs, or anyone doing consumer bank or banking work, you'll see that there's a topic there. But when I click on health insurance summaries, here are the subtopics under each, and I think I clicked on all of them. But when you scroll to a topic that you're interested in, let's talk about health portability, I can actually keep drilling in until I get to a particular state. Let's pick Massachusetts this time. And what we're going to do for you here is give you all of the different regulations in Massachusetts pertaining to portability of records and eligibility. All right, so really nice, concise way of getting everything that you want, statutes and regs on a specific healthcare subject. It's doing the work for you. That's something that you really have to keep in mind with a lot of these resources. A lot of these resources are vetted for you already, and Westlaw is providing you with a quick and easy way to get the answer so you can advise your client. Now, back at the health law homepage, if I click on regulations now, here are all the federal regs relating to health law. Here are all the state regs relating to health law. Just a real easy way of getting to your specific state's resources. Final tip that I wanted to give you that I think is really important and something that will come up no matter where you go. I've showed you a lot of current awareness databases and databases you can use to advise your clients on statutory and regulatory changes. Two other databases that we provide you with that are just wonderful resources, and these databases really aren't restricted just to health law, but something called 50 state regulatory and 50 state statutory surveys. These particular databases give us an ability to get all of the state statutes or all of the state regulations on a particular area of law. So again, when you drill in, you're going to see topics outside of just healthcare. We're going to focus on healthcare right now, and when I drill in, here are all the state statutes relating to healthcare law topics, right? Fraud and abuse, healthcare facilities, health insurance oversight, healthcare providers, healthcare expenses, etc. Licensure of facilities. Again, you might be representing a client who does it maintains assisted living and nursing home facilities in the 6 New England states. I need to get all of the state statutes from those states and all of the state regs from those states on licensure requirements. Well, click the link, and again, here's that vetted information I talked about. Westlaw is going to just collect and list all of those statutes for us. Better yet, if you see that your report has a PDF, you can click on that, and Westlaw is going to provide you this information in a tabular format. Again, make it as easy as possible to get that information to your client, so that you're advising your client in a really complex area. And I think Westlaw does a very good job of really simplifying the process for you, and particularly in healthcare law. This is a heavily regulated area, and I think we do a really good job of giving you the information as quickly and as conveniently as possible. Hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Good luck.